of race week started like pretty much every Monday of race week with a nice swim. I decided to taper my swims this time around. It's not something that I normally do, but I thought better safe than sorry. I really wanted to have a good performance, this being the last race of the season. And so I decided to taper my swims. So Monday we just did 2k rather than the 3 or 4 that I'd normally do, with some technique work, some drills, a little bit of mixed speed stuff, some longer stuff, some shorter stuff, but nothing crazy, and obviously a fair bit reduced volume. I then made it out for an easy lunch run, did about half an hour, but super slow, like mostly zone 1 with a few strides at the end. Felt pretty crap actually in that run, but getting it done I knew would set me up better for later in the week. Tuesday we did a normal version of my sweet spot turbo in the morning. So normally I would do kind of 2 by 30, 2 by 25 minutes, but I did 2 by 15. And again, felt pretty crap by that, so I ended up just doing 2 by 10. Same sweet spot watts as normal. I think that's really important to keep the level of the intensity normal, just reduce the volume a fair bit, and so that's why that session took place. Then after work, I did a shorter version of my track session that I would normally do with my local running club. Normally on a Tuesday evening I would go to track, but that's later. It includes commuting, it's cold, it might rain, don't really fancy that, so it's super windy now, but thought I would get in half a track workout now. Track session, and basically just halving exactly what I do in track tonight. So we're going to do 5 by 90 seconds around 5k pace, just to keep the legs rolling over really nicely, keep some speed there, but don't do 10 because it's probably a bit much. Pretty much a full 5k, probably too much this close to a race. 2 done, got 30 seconds left in this rest, feeling really good. First one was tough, but now flying. That's how taper should feel like. Here goes number 3. That session gave me a lot of confidence because I've been feeling pretty slow and pretty lethargic coming up to that point, and so getting the legs moving pretty fast really put some confidence into me. Wednesdays I work in the office, so I just did a swim before work, again about 2k, some technique work, drills, a bit of speed, a bit of easy, very similar to Monday, 2k again, and then just cycled 20 minutes to work and cycled 20 minutes back. Really easy day, just kind of letting myself not stress over the amount of volume that I'm doing on race week. Thursday morning, it was time for another turbo session, this time doing some threshold intervals. So I did 3 by 5 minutes at threshold. This again felt pretty tough, but I managed to complete all bar the last interval, which I cut a couple of minutes short. At this point, I was starting to feel the body come around, get back into a state where I thought I was ready to race, and that's, again, really encouraging. And then in the evening we got another run, so I did a taper version of my normal threshold run. Thursday evening, out for my last hard session for the race, we're doing 4 by 3 at threshold, 1 minute to 2 minute recovery, seeing how I feel. And it has just started thundering and lightning, at least I can hear it. I couldn't see it, but yeah, so this will be interesting. Yeah, one done and the heavens absolutely open. Felt really good for that first one, but yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's not, it's very slippy. Unfortunately, I only did the first 2 intervals for this because there was a pretty crazy rainstorm here in London with some thunder and lightning, and the paths and pavements were just far too slippy. High of a risk of me kind of slipping and hurting myself a couple of days before the race, so I only did the first 2 3-minute intervals for that session. Friday started off with another swim, just 1500 meters, almost entirely easy technique and drill work with maybe a couple of 100 meters of some sprints split up into 25s and 50s, just to make sure that the kind of like intensity isn't forgotten by the body. And then in my lunch break at work, I just did a nice kind of easy 20-minute run just to keep the legs moving, because sitting at a desk all day isn't that great for performance. Saturday, day before the race, I always like to just do a 20 to 30 minute easy run with some strides, and that's exactly what I did. 23 minutes with 4 sets of strides at the end. Felt really, really good for this. Felt like the body was awake, ready to race on Sunday. Race day started bright and early at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had one of the best swims of my life, even though I think it could have gone a fair bit better. Starting in the swim, there was kind of a group of guys to my left who I thought would be pretty fast, and I was kind of dead straight in the middle of the mass start, pretty much by myself on the line, and I just swam as hard as I could for the first few 100 meters. Got to about 300, the buoy at about 300 meters, looked round, and I had a pretty decent gap, at least kind of 50 to 60 meters at that point, I thought. And I wish at this point I would have just like put my head down, really committed to widening that gap, but I just kind of like swam at threshold rather than really kind of putting in a good another burst and trying to elongate that gap. So it only extended to a couple of 100 meters, whereas I think it could have been more significant than that. And the course at Hever Castle for the swim and the Gauntlet at least was pretty complicated. And I had to ask the swim safety team where to go a fair few times because there was no lead kayak. So again, I think that could have shaved at least a minute off. So coming out the swim with a 2-minute gap felt amazing, but I think on reflection, that could have been more like a 4-minute, maybe even a 5-minute gap. And who knows how that could have set me up for the rest of the race. But it's the first time for me coming out the swim by myself, and I absolutely lost my shit. It was an absolutely insane experience.
Fucking go, Josh! What the fuck?
Out onto the bike, and I was in the lead still, with a couple of minute gap. My transitions aren't that fast, but clearly fast enough to give me the gap. And yeah, just the most insane experience. I was so happy. Honestly, I've very rarely been that happy in racing, and although the rest of the race didn't go that as well for me, yeah, kind of coming out onto the bike with the lead moto in front of me was phenomenal. I really want to experience that again, and it's really lit a fire in me to make sure that I'm at the front of the race again and I'm in the mix, because yeah, what an amazing experience. I managed to stay in the lead, I think, for about the first hour of the race, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, but I think I got overtaken between 15 and 20k into the bike, and I just kept getting overtaken until I got overtaken by one of my teammates. Shout out Ollie, did really well in this race. Wiped my arse in the bike and the run, unfortunately, but that happens. He was the last one to overtake me on the bike, and then no one else overtook me from about 60 or 70k until the end of the 90k bike. The bike was incredibly tough. This is the hardest bike course I've ever done, just super hilly. I don't know the exact elevation, but I'll put it somewhere on screen now to give you guys some perspective. But it was pretty much always up or always down. Honestly, I think I might have been better off on a road bike, simply because it would have been a bit lighter, a bit easier to climb and a bit easier to descend on, but the TT bike performed incredible. I changed my position slightly, having tested it the day before, to raise the bars by 1 centimetre, and that felt really, really comfortable. I'm really glad I did that, because it gave me a bit more kind of breathing space in my chest while in the bars, meaning that I could kind of stay in the bars on some of the easier slopes, and don't think it made it any less aerodynamic. Coming off the bike in 6th position, and I think, well, I will leave my reflections till then. I'll just tell you kind of how the race played out. Out onto the run was really tough again, pretty much, I'd say 70 to 80% off-road, either on grass, gravel trails or mud. I went for alpha flies, and I still think that's the right decision. None of the trails were too technical, so yeah, I really think that the alpha flies was the right decision, and I think I really needed that softness, that energy return from them to make it through, because I pretty much ruined my legs on the bike with a lot of surges trying to maintain pace with the people that were overtaking me, even though I couldn't quite do that. I think it took a lot out of my legs, and I really paid for that on the run. I got overtaken twice on the run, slipping back to 8th overall. I'm really pleased with that 8th overall. Obviously I wish it could be higher, but considering it's my best ever placement, I think it's one of, if not my best ever performances, I'm really pleased. It's hard, for me it's hard to not just look at the ways that I can improve. And obviously I've done that, and I'll have some reflections in a minute, but I am pleased. I have improved, and I will continue to. Bit gutting, finishing 1 place off my age group podium, so didn't get to stand on the podium yet. But next time I'm confident. When I toe the line again, it will at least be an age group, if not an overall podium. Hopefully, fingers crossed. My main takeaways from this race are swim-wise, I need to keep improving, but I can probably focus a little bit less on the swim. Not that Matt, my swim coach, will be that pleased about me telling him that I'm probably going to go down to 2 swims a week rather than 3 swims a week to make time for more running primarily. I think it's definitely my weakest point. I probably could have, if I had run myself up maybe into 5th, or at least maintained 6th rather than dropping to 8th. But I guess the fundamental problem that I had both on the bike but mainly so on the run was that I just wasn't physically strong enough to maintain good form and to be putting out power and to be kind of like really making progress on the run. It's quite a long race with the run and the bike course being quite tough, and I kind of knew this coming into the race, that I'd let kind of the strength and the higher intensity work on the bike and the run fade off a little bit towards the end of the season, and it's something that I'll be working on over the off season, getting really strong, getting really consistent, and yeah, this just highlighted that to me. Not much else to say really. An amazing experience. Thanks to Castle Race Series for putting on the Hever Castle Gauntlet. Really enjoyed it. Thanks to all the volunteers. Amazing experience. Super brutal course, but very honest, really enjoyable. Massive thanks to Danny, obviously, for coming along to watch and support, and for always being supportive and helping me do all of this ridiculous triathlon training and everything that I do. Thanks to Matt, who I mentioned earlier is my new swim coach, who has really enabled me to be a front pack swimmer, I think. And thanks to everyone from T3, my triathlon team. Wouldn't be able to have done this year, even though filled with ups and downs it's been. I wouldn't have been able to done this without you guys. So thanks to all those people. Although I'm the one crossing the line, this wouldn't be possible. None of this would be possible without some of those people, so thank you. Coming up for me, I said I wasn't going to race again this year, and I don't think I'm going to race a triathlon, but I think maybe a 10k at the weekend, although I haven't booked my place yet, because even though it's kind of 48 hours after the race now, I feel like a broken man. I'm so sore. I've never been this sore after a race, so I should tell you how hard it was. But maybe I'll race a 10k and see how much leg speed there is left. But this is probably the end of my triathlon season, and I'll have a reflective piece coming out about my year and about what I want for next year. But got some pretty lofty goals for next year. So I hope you'll all join me for that crazy experience. Please guys, hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and hit the like button. Both of those really help out the channel, and you'll be able to stay tuned to see what's coming. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.